been about 30 days since I have released an Aduro Clean Technologies video, and that is uh, purposely done. It has been done to really acknowledge what I think is going on right now with Aduro Clean Technologies behind the scenes is one of the most exciting aspects of the development of this young company in the time that I have covered the company. And in all due respect to what the company is doing behind the scenes, my job is to convey what it is that I think is going on at any given time. Now, it would be awesome to come on because this is one of my favorite companies that I've ever covered every single day and talk about things and try to generate activity around the company. That is not the stage of where this company is right now. It's not. And I think in the face of a market with some obvious headwinds in 2025, with the introduction of tariffs, some geopolitical tension, some global tension that's gone on, I think Aduro has really taken a back seat with the stock price. Now, for those of you guys that have frequented the channel and caught my continuing coverage of Aduro Clean Technologies, I'll have you know that my satisfaction with the stock in 2025 and since coming public in late 2024 has been absolutely satisfied. Do I believe that 2025 was going to be that groundbreaking year where we surged to $100 a share? Absolutely not. And I have been steadfast in sharing what I thought 2025 would mean for Aduro and how it would be received by the greater stock market. Now, I say that tongue in cheek because this company, in my belief, is one announcement, one away from breaking the pressure that has been building based on some very, very key press releases that have been released throughout the course of early 2025 and have fallen on deaf ears. They've been released and they are dismissed. They are released and they're thrown out with the bathwater. Okay. I think that is a huge mistake. And I think us as investors have to take a step back for a moment and ask ourselves, how much more continued progress toward an inevitable pre-commercial next generation plant are we going to allow Aduro Clean Technology to continue to provide the grander market nuggets with regard to their process and not see any reciprocation in the stock price? Okay. Now, I'm not angry. I don't think that the information that has been released should have translated into exponential growth yet. What I want to focus in on for investors is to understand what this sets us up for. The press releases speak to a significant amount of information that is conveyed with the relationships that Aduro, through their networking and outreach, has been able to garner as late as 2025, since they have announced some new MOUs, some new patent applications, okay? And these are those positive injects that I speak about that, again, move the needle nil. I watch this stock go up and I watch it retract. I watch it go up and I watch it retract. All the while, what I feel like for an astute investor this provides is opportunity to enter what I feel like is a company trading at a fraction of its potential value. Now, the key word there is potential. And in a latest press release, an analyst came out with the first price target, which got everybody's attention. This price target rounded out at $50. Now, on the onset, the $50 price target seemed like an astronomical achievement, as the stock now is trading at $5.31 on the Nasdaq. Okay. But if we look deeper below the surface, we'll understand that that price target was based on one, not the three verticals that Aduro sports in its portfolio. They're verticals that it deploys the hydrochemolytic technology, rather just the plastic recycling vertical. And we can quickly ascertain their ability to get to a valuation that would support a $50 share price and then some. Okay. I digress. The same article by that analyst talked about some of the key hurdles for the company at this point, which are still outstanding and look to be de-risked as the next generation process comes to fruition. Now, the news releases in 2025 that has spoke toward positive progress toward that end are as follows. The pilot plant design patent application that went through is the very thing that is like setting up franchises across the world using a patented, protected process coupled with what we know is the best chemical recycling solution anywhere on the market. The problem with Aduro is that nobody knows about it, okay? Grumblings are starting to happen in big industry. Institutional investors are starting to take note and starting to take interest in real positions in Aduro Clean Technologies. But the pilot plant design speaks to their ability to build moat protection around this groundbreaking technology that they have. But it speaks to their ability to patent this process that can be duplicated over and over and over again to meet customer demands in a scaled approach to where no matter what the customer needs, Aduro has the ability to offer a scalable commercial solution, and that process is going to be protected. Nobody else can benefit from it. It's Aduro's technology and Aduro's alone. Okay. Coupled with their existing patent portfolio, this is an incredible step in the right direction. And we'll talk about the press release in just a little bit and how it really fell on deaf ears when it was introduced to the grander marketplace. The market brushed it off. It sometimes does that. And I think Aduro is shaping up to be a prove it story in that they have repeated a number of different times the inevitable Q3 next generation process finalization of the plant and those details. But these little nuggets that are left along the line leave share owners to speculate on the progress that is being made that we don't have day-to-day transparency on. We can only presume that Aduro, by their own admission provided on fireside chats, as well as their aggressive outreach at many industry conferences and expos, that they are aggressively trying to advertise and showcase their technology, understanding that it's not an empty promise that they're approaching, rather a process that they think is going to be coming online and introduced in a big way in Q3 of 2025. Okay, so these progress reports we get are just little nuggets of progress along that line, and share owners will have to continue to just be patient toward that end. But we're provided just in the first couple of months of 2025 further news releases that also speak to that end. The pilot plant design, which is complete. This is a phase of the design process that they completed relatively quick, and their ability to leverage their relationship with Zeton, as per last year's announcement, shows a continued growing relationship with Zeton and the leveraging of their expertise to make sure that that next generation is going to be a state-of-the-art reactor. And that's what it means to me. I look at these progresses not in its entirety, not with the lens that most of the bears will look at Aduro and say they're a long way away. Well, define a long way away. I think when, in all fairness, you look at Aduro and the progress that's been made just over the last 3 years in going from a penny stock traded company in a little known exchange to uplisting to Nasdaq, having been a guest of the Nasdaq opening the opening bell on January 17th, just here a couple of months ago, really speaks to their belief that they have the goods. And again, these progress reports that were provided might not be that barn burner catalyst that we're looking for, and I think that the market's looking for. It doesn't matter what me and you can agree is going to move the needle on this. I'm a little bit more conservative as I approach 2025 for Aduro Clean Technology in acknowledging that I think that what they're doing behind the scenes now requires time. It requires time. Now, the bears would suggest that they do not need to be afforded time and that they should have results tomorrow. That's the bear case, right? Any time we're marching toward an inevitable commercialization, we look at proof through the news releases and the collaborative efforts that they're making with industry partners as positive moves toward commercializations, only to be stepped on by the bears because the stock does not reciprocate the good news. And we'll just have to continue to be patient. We'll have to continue to monitor that, and we'll have to allow the market to digest those catalysts that they want to either dismiss, give credit for, or potentially reciprocate on with regard to how the market measures the magnitude of those specific catalysts as we get them. In my opinion, in 2025, we have not met that major catalyst yet. We haven't. These press releases just speak to continued progress toward a commercialization effort that, in my mind, and I'm reading the press release carte blanche, I'm reading them in the black and white, and the best I can tell, the best I can garner, is that it's positive news. If the press release came out and it spoke with a negative overtone, I would report out on that. But that's just not what it says. So I encourage all investors to go in and check out the press release. The final one is the Memorandum of Understanding signed with NexGen Polymers, one of the 3 press releases that were released here in the last couple of months of 2025 that speak to the industry desire to collaborate with Aduro. And I cannot stress enough, all 3 of these press releases that I've highlighted in this video fell on deaf ears. Okay, there was no reciprocation. If nothing else, Aduro has really slipped from its highs from the IPO euphoria and has settled back into a range here that is extremely acceptable for long-term investors, and on a pre-split basis, in my opinion, is extremely attractive for new investors that are just being introduced to the Aduro Clean Technology story. So it's a win-win across the board. As long as the stock can hold in here above its IPO level, which it has, it's trading right now at about a 25% premium to its IPO price, no problem. Sometimes I feel like the bears have extremely overzealous expectations of a stock. And again, I think it speaks to the agenda of speaking negatively about the stock and not being able to look at the opportunity objectively and fairly. Rather, whatever information Aduro comes out with is going to be not good enough. Whatever it is they are forecasting on the horizon is going to be not good enough. You know, every little retraction in the stock is going to be a reason to continue to say that this is the end, right? And over the last 3 years and beyond, this company has defied the odds. It has appreciated in value. They have followed through with everything that they have said that they would do. Why is it to expect that this time will be any different? So let's jump in real quick and we'll talk about these press releases because I really want to codify for you guys what I think is being missed in 2025 with the marked progress of Aduro Clean Technology and the back pressure that I think that is creating on the stock and will inevitably blow its top when we meet that inevitable catalyst, which I think we're due for in the foreseeable future, i.e. Q3 2025. So let's get into it and take a look at the press releases a little bit deeper. As we look to summarize what Aduro has been able to garner in 2025, It always helps to go back to the press releases that are available on AduroCleanTech.com. Again, AduroCleanTech.com. Links will be provided in the description. You guys can kick over there and read these press releases in their entirety. Aduro has been very, very busy attending conferences, spreading the word, networking with those alike in the industry, looking to share their story. But there are a few nuggets that have dropped in 2025, and this being the first. At the end of January, Aduro Clean Technologies achieves key milestone in pilot plant design. I'm not going to read this to you, but the gist of this is that the basic engineering design of their next generation process has been completed. And I think this speaks to a couple of things for me, and hopefully you guys garner the same silver lining in this, is that their relationship with Zeton is progressing well, which I think is going to be key in utilizing their expertise in the design of the NGP. Now they'll move on to the advanced phase of the NGP process. And so when we are looking to establish a roadmap for 2025, we know that there are some inevitable goalposts around Q3 of 2025 where the NGP should be nearing completion. In the interim, it is press releases like this that give investors and would-be investors the insight to understand what is going on behind the scenes with Aduro Clean Technologies here in 2025 and what is happening, especially with their commercialization efforts. So these really provide the necessary color to understand what's going on and where we could potentially look in the future for marked progress with the work that is ongoing. And just shy of 3 months into 2025, this press release, I believe, really fell on deaf ears in the market. And I think that's a huge mistake. I think that the impact of this patent application over their process. Now, remember, they have the chemistry, okay? They have the solution. This patent application allows them to codify the process that leverages the technology to an end, that end being commercialization. More specifically, it's commercialization on the modular approach, as well as what the press release talks about in codifying readily available commercial equipment to build these reactors. This is key in understanding what Aduro is trying to do here in creating a more significant moat around what we can all agree is intriguing at the least of technology. Now, those of us that are bullish on this look at this as a home run. This information was released at the end of January, and since then, Aduro has got no favor in the market whatsoever for this patent application, which aims to provide a significant amount of protection around their existing technology and the process that's going to be deployed in a modular sense once they start to solidify those commercial relationships with their many customers that they have on their current ledger. So this was another press release that Aduro came out with mid-March, just a couple of weeks ago, which again, I don't think garnered its due attention, and that's fine. In the face of some geopolitical risk, as well as some global tension, as well as just a basic sentiment sell-off with the introduction of tariffs, it's not surprising that this information has flown under the radar. That is where I come in. I will look to put this forefront and center for you guys because as we speak, Aduro Clean Technologies stock is sitting idly at $5.31 US on the Nasdaq with news like this. Now, the news releases have been fairly steady in 2025. Nothing too groundbreaking, in my opinion. All suggestive news releases to a more productive end. That end being commercialization, okay? This, again, solidifies Aduro's interest from big industry. In this case, it is for NexGen polymers, okay? With 30 years of experience in the industry, I want to bring your attention to the bullet points in this press release and really highlight what I think this relationship could mean. Now, this is a three-stage memorandum of agreement. The first stage is binding, the second and third phase being optional. Okay, so this is a preliminary step in the right direction. I don't want to read into this too far, but I also don't want to breeze over and dismiss how important this is with just one of many prospective clients that Aduro has. And I'll just say this, these positive developments with these interested parties can only fall on deaf ears for so long. In other words, we don't have customers stepping forward and say, yes, we've looked at the technology and we have chosen to go another direction. It has not been that. It has been a genuine inflow of interest in Aduro's technology, their process, and that process is ever changing and ever growing with every single passing day. So these agreements, as young as they are and as they are in their infant stage of the MOU, it is important for investors to understand the potential impact of these relationships in getting off on the collaboration stage with these respective companies. Now, these bullet points are interesting because they really do open up an envelope of some of the logistics that are going to be expected by the plant design, the property procurement, the regulatory and environmental aspects, the zoning, the cost structures, the storage and warehousing, all of the things we know are going to be logistical hurdles for Aduro to work through, identify, and solve. And these bullet points speak to that, and NexGen Polymers is going to help with that. Feedstock broker services, site selection, evaluation, and preparation, all of which will help Aduro in the future with additional jobs in this press release. It does speak to all of the knowledge that is garnered is the property of Aduro and Aduro alone, site permitting, zoning, and building approvals, and the preliminary engineering and business model development. So I would encourage you to read this in its entirety. But I'm amazed here in 2025 how even investors like myself who have set expectations relatively low for 2025, Aduro's just not sitting on their haunches and relying on the fact that they have the best technology, the best chemical recycling technology in the plastic recycling space. Rather, we know that they're working diligently behind the scenes, but these press releases speak to working across many, many different forms of outreach. Enough to bring in a NexGen Polymers on an MOU. So very, very exciting stuff. Just another feather in Aduro's cap to track going forward as we move toward that inevitable pilot plant target date of Q3 2025. So we've come out of the press releases here for Aduro Clean Technology. My job is to highlight the information that Aduro is coming out with, and I think it's all positive. I do. I think the critical ingredient as a long share owner in the company now for going on 3 years I've invested in the company. As a proud share owner in the company, they have done nothing but provide me marked progress toward an end. And I think that end is going to be the major catalyst that is outlined in the $50 price target by the analyst that speaks to de-risking of a process that has a lot of work to do and a lot of foreseeable, hurdles to work through, that of which we talked about a little bit in this video. And once those hurdles are worked through, negotiated, troubleshot, and solved, and we can get a small peek and glimpse into the opportunity that Aduro can follow through on what we know they're capable of following through on, then I think the sky's the limit. I think to many minds that cover this stock would suggest that $50 a share price is actually fairly conservative when you're talking about the opportunity of Aduro Clean Technologies across all three of their verticals and not just one. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this update, 2025 Aduro Clean Technologies. Subscribe to the Independent Investor channel. I provide these updates as often as I can and as they are made available to me. We're going to continue to be patient. That, I think, is the critical ingredient to deploy here in 2025 as we continue to cover this story going forward. Leave your comments at the bottom of the video, and I will leave links to all of the press releases that are used in the making of this content. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the totality of this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. And as always, good luck in your investment future.